Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now. Welcome to Hyphenate Halftime with me, your host, Randy Randall. This is March 24th. It's a Monday. Mr. Aaron Farley, how you doing this week, sir?
I'm good. Sorry, I just took a bite of an apple. I'm ready now. I had to be away from the mic. I'm good.
Becomes an ASMR show.
Yes.
Yep.
Please tell him to keep eating apples. It's much better than his talking.
Well, it's very Washingtonian of you to have an apple.
Oh, right.
Yeah. The apple
Beautiful
state.
Washington apples that were, I'm sure they were grown in somewhere other than Washington. Probably, I don't know, Japan.
I don't know where
China
come from anymore. Oh no.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
Sorry. I didn't want to
Stay out. It's only been 48 seconds. We're already in.
That just comes out now. I don't even.
It's infected your brain. Well, here we are. It's a Monday. Last week we had the one and only Kai Slater from the Sharp Pins and Lifeguard.
Yeah. How did you guys meet?
So, No Age had a show in Chicago, and Lifeguard opened up for us. I think Dean had reached out to some people and asked who were good bands in Chicago. This was 2022, so what is that, 3 years ago?
Okay.
And Lifeguard were the young, or still are the young, but they were even younger then. They were 3 years younger. I think they were all in high school, and they were awesome. They were a great band, but it was cool because they were so young. And that show we played, the guys from Matador Records came to the show to sign the opening act, the opening act of the show. Like, oh wow, this is happening for them. I feel like it was like watching this like important moment for Lifeguard.
Oh, that's awesome.
Happening at that show.
So Lifeguard is on Matador.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then when I just kind of kept in touch with them, and I would like them, and Asher, who plays bass in Lifeguard, his dad played in the Ponies and Fax and 90 Day Men. He's played in a bunch of other bands.
Oh, wait, what's his dad's name?
Brian.
Oh, yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so
I've been listening to Fax a lot lately.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So his son Asher is in Lifeguard also. And so it was kind of friends of friends. And so we kept in touch. And then when Lifeguard made 2 awesome EPs with Steve Albini at Electrical.
Oh.
And then we had kept in touch, and I had said, hey, if you ever need help making a record or anything, I love recording bands and, making records and things. And so we got in touch last year, and I flew out to Chicago and helped make their full-length album that'll be coming out shortly, the Lifeguard full-length record.
So that's the Chicago band. I remember when you went out there.
Yeah,
Awesome.
but it's funny, but it was a long time from recording in March in Chicago, and then it'll come out I think shortly here. But then in that meantime, also Kai, or maybe he'd already had this record done for his solo project, the Sharp Pins, and so now this has come out in that meantime between recording their full-length debut of Lifeguard. His solo thing has come out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it is it Sharp Pins or is it Short Pins?
Oh, all right. It's the Sharp Pins.
Sharp Pins.
Yes.
Because both of them, both of you guys, I was like, okay, I'm going to figure it out.
Is it the Chicago accent?
Short Pins. Short Pins, sharp pins, short pins, short pins. I'm like, there's no T or P in between those two words.
Sharp pins.
Sharp pins.
The sharp
sharp
pins.
pins. The sharpens, the sharpies. What is this? No, but I ended up listening to it. It's good. It's good. It's really good. And I love Lifeguard. I hadn't heard Lifeguard before.
They're incredible, right? I mean, 2 very different projects. It was really interesting working in the studio with Kai and Isaac and Asher for the Lifeguard record, because in between, Kai would just pull out these like Beatles songs or all these like other, like power pop kind of things, and this like I'm like, what is all this? He's like, oh, I have this other band, I have this other thing, this other thing. It's like, oh shit, okay, well, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of music coming out of these three young people, and then Isaac would be in the corner like making like a drum and bass like Aphex Twin record like on this like drum machine. What is going on? You guys,
kids these days
are all very young and very excited with energy, like with music just like spilling out of your pockets. Like while you're making one record, I feel like they could have made 16 other records in that same time. Like all three of them are just super scary talented, just really obsessed with music too, which I think is really fun to see. Like, I think, I love being the old grumpy man and being like, kids these days. But, if you are a kid who's particularly, or a younger person who's particularly interested in music, like it's an encyclopedia. You have like almost the entire history of Western recorded music,
everything
at your fingertips now.
In like a month, you could go through, like if you really were like, I'm going to focus on this one genre for 1 month. You're like, oh, I have it's all here. Like almost all of it.
Yeah.
And you can find the interviews in podcasts, and you can find the like interviews on YouTube. And you can find videos.
But even just the records, like there was, they were referencing Lifeguard as a whole was referencing this Heat record, which, for all of my music nerdiness and working at Amoeba and record stores and stuff, like it was out of print. Like you just couldn't find it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you couldn't find it, if you didn't have the record or someone didn't make a tape for you, you just didn't hear it. You know what I mean?
It.
So it's such an odd concept of something being out of print or rare and this kind of thing. You know what I mean? Even if something's not on streaming, it's going to be on YouTube or it's going to be, cataloged somewhere. There's very few things that you're unable to hear, all the B-sides and singles. But you and I are similar vintage. A B-side or singles, Japanese singles, huge difference. You know what I mean? The secret song on the thing of the thing, like, well, I've never heard this. And then you get to hear it. And it was just like, wow, okay, now you're insider knowledge. But the idea of that sort of rarity of music is different. It's just not as hard to find. So which is cool, because then a band like Lifeguard or any other band can hone in on this, on a record, and it could be a huge influence on them. And that is so set aside from, our generation. Like, I never heard that record. I like that. I love that band, but I never heard that record.
Yeah,
no one
totally.
Had it. So
and I mean, even bands like Arlie Karsten's, his band Juno, none of their stuff is on streaming, and I was like, I don't have that CD anymore. And then I looked it up. Yeah, they're all on YouTube.
Right. Yeah.
That's what
I'm
saying.
Is like
the whole album. It's like Juno's whole album, and it's front to back YouTube. And someone has posted it up there, and it just lives there.
And is there a Wikipedia entry for them too? And you could read at least, somewhat of all the members and who they played and what instruments they played and when they made the recordings and where they made them at. Oh yeah.
And I'm sure that there's like Discogs, like all that stuff. Like you can go through and find everything, and I think that can be used for evil, by like just the laziness of everything, but it also can be used for this amazing. I mean, I do think that is what's showing with this technology, and maybe I'll stay out of politics for right now, but that all of this stuff that starts, like everything starts with this, like, oh my God, everybody's gonna have access to everything, which is potentially true, like the internet and like like streaming songs or whatever. But then what ends up happening, there's the middle part where someone goes, yeah, but we can also make a lot of money off this, and like, let's figure that part out. And then they figure that part out, and then you have the people coming out the other side going, well, this sucks now, I don't have any money left. And then you have the other side that's like these kids that now have every single influence right in front of their face, and they can build, and there aren't, although I think it was great when there were very distinct genres. I think it made for really interesting kind of separate music, like separate types, like very distinct types of music, and like in their little categories, which I think maybe made for better music in general, because everything was so separated that you had such these small groups making really, and like only the best people would come out of these little tiny groups, and you'd get like the Portishead, you'd get like Tribe Called Quest, and that's like backpack rap, and then there's this huge genre, but you have this little tiny genre that like the best kind of pop out the top. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's so wide open, which is great for kids, but I think sometimes so many of the hits or the music. I listen to Music Fridays because I like to just like on Spotify, because I like to just make myself angry. And I like when I'm driving to work on Friday, I just do like New Music Friday and pop through the songs. And so much of it is like, it sounds so similar because it's a wash of like 10 genres. Like every song is
Mm.
like has 10 genres in it. And then everything that pops up that I really like, that for me that I like, that is like, oh, I could see where this person's influence is, but the influence is very specific. And it sounds like sounds separate from all these other, like the wash of genres, the genre wash. They've been put in a washing
The
machine,
genre washing
and
machine.
and there's 10
Yeah.
different genres at the same time, and you're like, okay, this is nice, but it could be a Britney Spears song, and it could also but it has like heavy guitars, but then it has like some old like Timberland beat, and then it has like blues or like R&B singing in the background, and then, oh wait, there's now this is like a guy rapping for, okay, where this, okay, and then it's all just talking about taking your clothes off. All right,
Oh
that's
God.
that's like 70% of
Of
like, okay,
new music.
yeah. But then you could tell those people that do put these records out, like even like Bon Iver is an interesting example of like he'll always like come up with some, be a part of a song, and we're like, oh, this is cool, but you can tell that there's like specifics, and I think that that's maybe what gets lost now listening to these records like Lifeguard, and like you can tell that they're on that, like we're trying to do this thing, we're going to stay inside this little box, but we're gonna make these like really amazing records. And that Lifeguard, like all those Lifeguard records were great, and the Sharp Pin stuff, like how he's like, I'm loving like from 65 to 67, like pre psychedelic
Mhm.
British, and you're like, yes, that's great. I love that. I love that you gave yourself some guideposts, and then you're like, I'm gonna listen to this, and I'm gonna try to kind of make my own version of this. And I think that that's where you get those like really great ideas, or someone coming up with a new idea, or like a new kind of sound within those parameters. Like maybe a lot of people just don't have parameters now, and that's like artists, like everyone, it's like it can be really hard to do things when you don't give yourself parameters.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting, it's in the larger context, with, using Kai as an example, but I think having a point of view, you know what I mean? And not necessarily
Yeah.
just a style or just um, an aping point or something to like,
Right.
but it's a jumping off sort of point of view that it's specific to that person, even if there's a heavy hand in a reference or in a style or an influence. I still think like you said, picking sort of a box and
Yeah.
sort of playing in that box. I don't know. I think about it so much like with like filmmakers or something too. Somebody like a Quentin Tarantino or something.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, okay, well, he cites his influences and almost rips them off. Specifically,
Yes.
it's such a heavy hand in it, but you would never be able to say that anybody else made that movie other than him, even though there's all
Right.
these pastiches and these heavy stylized sort of
Right.
things that ultimately, by using these genre defining tropes, that he is able to say something new and something unique and that represents a point of view that's uniquely his own. And I think, it's not to pull apples and oranges, what I mean? It's two different things, but I think Kai and through Sharp Pins and Lifeguard, it definitely has this unique point of view at the same time touching on these stylized influences, which is really fun.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing
Definitely.
wrong with that kind of thing. I think sometimes it's like you stand on the shoulders of these other things, of these other genres or other musicians. You can use that as your sort of platform for your own
Yeah.
messaging.
I mean, I think that that's a great way. Like even when he was talking about, or you guys were both talking about K Records and Calvin, and being like, yeah, this is music being made for fun, or like in a
Yeah,
way,
right.
like not that it doesn't want to be popular and you don't want to, it's not a business and all those things, but the main thing is like, yeah, but we want it to be original. We want it to feel like it's this band's music, and we're doing this because we're kind of fortunate to be able to do this, and like
Mhm.
we're going to keep this going, like how you talked about how Kay has their own studio, and how that's just, I mean, it's pretty much, I've heard it's kind of just open to the artists, right? A lot. I mean, it's
Uh,
like,
Oh, like
I
how
don't know.
does Calvin record bands in Olympia?
I feel like,
Or
even was that guy, who's the guy that did Microphones? Remember that band?
oh yeah, Phil Elfram.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wasn't did that come out on K? Was that K or Sub Pop?
I
I don't
don't
remember.
know.
But I
It's a good
feel like
question. Or
I'm
Kill
gonna
Rock Stars, maybe even.
oh, it
It
could
was,
have been
yeah,
Kill Rock
microphones.
Stars.
Yeah.
Kill Rock Stars? Okay. Then I won't save my story.
Well, I don't know, but no, I know what
But
you're
it
saying.
wasn't
Yeah,
even a
yeah,
story. But it was, I
yeah.
remember listening to an interview with him. I think it was
Oh
actually
yeah,
on
it's on
Mark.
K. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Okay.
doing a yeah.
And and I think it was a Mark Maron interview, which was weird that he
Oh,
was
he
interviewed by
interviewed.
Mark Maron.
Yeah.
But that it was and he was talking about how he just lived in the studio for like a month.
Mm.
And I do feel like it was K, like that K studio, but that was this ability, like he just had a key or something, and that a lot of that was just the fact that he had access to that stuff is the only reason those records got made. And I think that there is that, especially speaking of technology, now that it's much cheaper to do a record, like you really could do a record on GarageBand pretty easily, and it might not sound, whatever, it might sound great, it might not, depending on what you're looking for, but that you have the ability to do that, and sometimes you just need the room and a space, or the space and a room to record in,
Yeah,
and that
absolutely. I
those
mean, I think
ideas.
that was always part of that sort of, you know, indie sort of thing too. Where it's a 4-track. You know what I mean? Or
Right,
just
right.
our cassette 8-track or whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? All of like those early like kind of at home recording things. There was that indie world of K records and all that stuff. You know, sort of became uh, like a fingerprint of that style of
Hmm.
music too. So recorded kind of lo-fi sort of setups.
And
And
also, it's like that what's that animated, is it an animated short that just won a an Oscar, and
I don't know.
it was made on like a free animation software,
Oh, that's great.
and it was up against all these other huge, like $200 million whatever, and it was made on a free animation software, and it, because it was just like, yeah, people just want great stories. They don't necessarily need like the thing, like it doesn't need to, your record doesn't necessarily need to be recorded in a, you know $1,000 a day whatever studio. And it's like, if the songs are not great, no one cares what the guitar sounds like.
Yeah.
Like, really, people want things that are catchy, that they can sing along to, or that bring them back to a different time in their life. And 99% of people have no idea what a guitar sound even is. Like they just want a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not chasing tones.
No.
No.
Although I love to talk to you about
That's a
that for an
particular
hour.
rabbit hole. That's great to
You're like,
to get
listen,
stuck in.
we don't talk about this on this podcast. This podcast is
No.
about tones, and it is about pedals.
I love it. I just got my new shipment of quill pedals back in
Yes.
from Ireland. It took like 3
Wait,
weeks,
what are
4
those?
weeks.
Tell me about
So,
those.
I know, right?
What is it? I don't
So
even
this
know
is
those.
oh yeah, Quill. John Quill is an incredible pedal maker out of Limerick, Ireland. If you look up Quill Effects, Quill,
Okay.
He makes great guitar pedals. These little guys are like little what do they call them? Micro gold. I did a whole story
Okay.
on the Instagram about these, but these are one of my favorite, like kind of heavy, high gain pedals. A volume and a gain. That's it in there. but it sounds
Oh, that's
great. It sounds like
amazing.
a huge like cranked head in a tiny little box, and you can play it through tiny speakers, and it still sounds big, thick.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love. Yeah, I've gone down the rabbit hole,
Yes.
in lots of ways about
I've seen the rabbit hole.
Yeah, the results. There's a lot of dirt that came out of the rabbit. To get down the rabbit
Yeah.
hole as deep as I have, I've created a lot of mess and dirt behind those piles of it. But
I love it.
I enjoy that kind of stuff. But yeah, but getting back to the idea of just I think of do it yourself, DIY recordings and all those things. Like, yeah, it's huge. I mean, there's
Yeah.
I feel like I've committed my whole life, to learning about all these things, and from getting a 4-track at 14 to now however old. What am I now? 44. This is 30 years of life of figuring out what a microphone does and when you connect it to something. I wish I had better songs to play with all of it. Now I get to this point, like, okay, now I finally know how to make a record. Now I just need to keep writing songs. But it's great. I mean, it's all about, but there's such a thing too of like, owning the means of production, being able to make your records. I think that it can be a trap you get stuck in. Like, oh, if only I had this, then I could make a song, or I could do this. And it's like, you don't really need much. You know what I mean? If you get that out of the way, like just record it with whatever you have, and the bar of, and sometimes you can even use that sort of lo-fi or like an unpolished sound to an artistic effect as well.
Yeah,
that was a big thing that Dean and I did when we first started. I think it was just having fun making records on whatever machines we had access to.
Right.
Our friend Kundo had a reel-to-reel 8-track. We did a lot of those first things just on that, and it sounded great. You know what I mean? That's the funniest part is like the things that didn't sound good eventually you wait around long enough and then it becomes a style. Ooh, yeah, I want the thing that sounds good. We want that good bad sound, that bad good sound.
Yeah, I remember that watching something with Mac DeMarco and him, like those first couple records. I mean, I think he's still maybe even the most recent ones are just like the on the get. I don't know if they get bounced down to the little 2-track recorder or whatever, but then watching him actually like, no, I do the warbles just with putting my finger on the reel.
Oh yeah.
And then that just became like, oh no, that's just the style that everybody has now recorded records with. That's in that style for the past 8 years or whatever. Like it's still
hilarious.
Yeah. And you're watching like, no, I just go. It's cool.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Everything's valid. They're all colors of a spectrum.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I think it's really fun. No, and I've definitely been inspired by watching Kai, with everything he's done with Lifeguard and now with, the sharp pin stuff. It's just like, oh, this is great. But it's like inspiring and kind of keeping it simple but great songwriting. I think he's got a great voice and he writes great songs.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's fun to sort of I feel like I've had like a front row seat to this thing. I was like, oh my God, does everybody know about this? Does everyone know about this? Is this like, I feel like it definitely felt like that sense of like, oh, this is going to be the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah. I mean, how's the new Lifeguard? Are you gonna premiere it here when it comes out? Do you get a like a preview? Like everybody listen to the new song at the end of the podcast.
I mean, I've been I was there. Yeah, we recorded them and I mixed them here at the studio in LA, and then if I have all the mastered takes, whenever Matador, I'm sure Matador has a whole team of people that get paid more money than I do to market and do PR on these things. I'm sure they'll debut the songs on the Colbert Show or Jimmy Fallon or something.
Right.
It'll be that kind of a thing. I'll be left in the dust over here talking.
You'll be third right after the Colbert Show.
That's
and Jimmy Fallon.
Maybe NPR Tiny Desk. They'll come right after Tiny Desk.
Yes, right after Tiny Desk. Next, we actually are going to Hyphenate.
Oh,
for the Hyphenate really tiny desk.
Yes,
super tiny table,
desk.
little TV tray,
the kickstand, the Hyphenate coffee table.
Yeah. You could. Yeah, they're just sitting on a little couch.
The TV tray. There we go. Here's our TV tray. You guys can play.
Each of them have and it just sounds like.
That'd be really fun. I mean, I would love it. It's with the spaces like here, that'd be super fun though to have bands come in here and record songs or premiere songs.
I mean, honestly, I think you could
podcast,
do it.
Why not, right?
That's why when Jeremy and I had our show, like so much of it was about having bands come in and play acoustic or.
Oh, really?
I mean, really,
That's
yeah.
So
Yeah, we had a lot of like fun stuff. A lot of it is just on CD from back because this
Just
was
flaking
before.
away,
I
rotting
mean, it
away
was
on the CD
pre
somewhere.
YouTube. Like there was no YouTube.
You put that up on
So
YouTube now, though, with the CDs up.
yeah, unfortunately, we looked through some of it and they're like,
Well, you
I'm gonna
could edit. You can edit. You don't have to put everything up, but at least the
keep this one
performances.
quiet.
Yeah.
I think we had a couple drinks on this show. But no, we had like Warpaint.
Oh yeah.
With them. Yeah, they played their very first time on our.
You mean before they played
awesome.
before they played the show?
I don't remember. It was very close to when we had our spot at that little radio warehouse. Yeah. It was like up above.
Was David Orlando still in the band?
No. Oh, no. This was like This is when Shannon Sossaman was still playing drums.
Okay, yeah.
Like at the very beginning, very, very beginning. But we had but every once in a while we'd come across some videos of people and like, oh, right. Like this rapper Bus Driver. Do you know him?
Oh, I remember the name.
He was around. Yeah. His like super indie, like the best dude ever.
Uh-huh.
But he had this really he had like one song that was like a super fast rap. It's like a local LA guy. He came in for a little bit. We had I don't know. It was Slash. But he never played. He wouldn't play the acoustic. He's like, man, I play too much guitar. That was really our high point. After that, we were like, I think the show's over. Although we have 4 shows with Keith and Dimitri right before Off was starting.
Oh wow, that's fun.
They did 4 shows in 4 weeks in a row. 4 weeks of Keith.
Did they play? Actually. Did they play acoustic unplugged?
No, this is before Off. So Dimitri, the way Off started was because Dimitri, like I think Keith. I mean, this might be. It's no big deal. Keith wanted to do Circle Jerk stuff, and then the other dudes are also, very busy and Bad Religion and whatever other bands they're playing in. And so Dimitri was like, well, I'll write some Circle Jerk songs. And so him and Keith wrote all these songs and presented them to the band. And then from what I hear, the band was just like, no, we write our own Circle Jerk songs, which makes sense. And then they had all these songs. And so Keith and Dimitri were like, wow, we should just start a band. And then they ended up starting Off.
That's great.
We did the years of Keith. So he did like his childhood years 1 week. And then he did like
the first 4 years,
teen years the next week. And then like Black Flag the next week. And then Circle Jerks the final week. And then, but he had albums, like he had songs to go with his stories. So then he would come in and then he'd be like, and then I heard this band, and it was like some, late 50s.
That's fun. So he would play the song and then tell the story about it.
We have it on CD somewhere. We got.
That's amazing.
That was a good one. That one was in the intermediate when we were doing the show in my garage. It was in between Little Radio, and then I think that was maybe the final. That was the final straw. When we ended up in my garage, we were like, okay.
That was the last place, the last stand. Like, okay.
Yeah. Well, then we started the gallery. Oh, then we started the gallery, and then we had people come in and play it. And we're like, I think this is the new radio show. I think the gallery is the new radio show. I think we're good.
We could lose a lot more money doing it this way.
Yeah,
it's a better way to do it. We're definitely, we don't have enough money on the line. Let's go ahead and sign a lease.
This way we could all just pay way more money for a huge space that almost no one comes to, except for one night a week. It's packed, or one night a month. It's packed.
Yeah, it's the opening. The rest of the time, very lonely, very quiet. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. Keith came by this studio here where I'm at a few years back now, before they did the last Off tour, because he wanted to set up a sampler to have stuff, because I think that last record and tour was pretty psychedelic, full of noise and stuff. And he and I had been talking about different things. Like, he had seen me do solo shows. He's like, I want one of those boxes. It does all that stuff. Yeah. I think he's seen Dean and I play where we have samples and different loops and things going on. So I bought him a little sampler that he could take on tour, and then we'll just come over and we'll load it up full of stuff. And so he would be there pulling songs and flipping stuff backwards and things. And, it's one of those things you kind of just have to do it for yourself. Like, it was up to him. I could try to show him how to use it. I don't know if they ended up using it on that tour or not, but it was fun. We
That's funny.
had 2 or 3 sessions of me just putting samples loops on his sampler. But at some point I was like, you kind of have to make it your own. I can't really, part of the deal is you got to make your own weird sounds.
That's so funny.
But kind of showing
Keith
how to
is
use
the
like
best.
the effects on little things you could do in between. Little things, because as a singer, if there's a long solo or a psychedelic sort of noise passage, there wasn't really much for him to do. So I think he wanted to add to the cacophony and stuff. But I don't know if I get a feeling that Dimitri might not have let him do that. Dimitri held that band with an iron fist.
I do think it was his band. Yeah.
Yeah. So Keith was sort of only able to do what it was in the boundaries or within the permissions of Dimitri.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Weren't you toying with the idea of being on bass or something for a tour with them or something?
Keith had asked if I wanted to do it, and then I don't know if I was really. I think they got a much more accomplished bass player to do that. Right. I think they found the right person. I don't think I'd be the right person. I mean, especially stepping into some of Steve McDonald's shoes. Like, those are very large shoes to fill out.
Yeah.
Be the correct person to do that at all.
Yeah.
That was nice.
So funny.
I think it just they were scratching their heads a little bit.
I mean, Keith is the best. I love Keith. Hey, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to play in a band with Keith. I think that'd be super fun. That's a hard question. That's a hard conversation to say no to, or to say, it's like he was always
the funniest really because when I first moved here, he worked at Millie's as a cook, and I'd walk in like, is that the guy from the Circle Jerks? It was like I was very new to LA and was like,
that can't be right.
That couldn't be right. And then someone's like, yeah, no, that's Keith. He works at Millie's, of course. He's the cook there. And then I remember when we started playing shows, we're playing to like 8 people or whatever. And then I'd look in the back and like, why is Keith Morris here? And you're like, hey man, that was real heavy, man. What are you guys up to? You got any other shows you guys are working on? And I was just looking going,
what the fuck?
Why is Keith he stayed and watched our whole. Yeah, man, that was good, man. It was real loud, man. This is cool. You guys should play some more. You guys should play some more shows, man. I should introduce you to this guy and this. And I'm like, you're maybe the nicest person in the world. He is. He's like, he's just like the sweetest dude, and he knows all the bands, and he just shows up, and he's just grumpy, but in the best way possible, and yeah, he's the best. He's the best. Even when we asked him on the show, and he's like, I don't know, man. Do you guys have a record player? And I was like, no, we can get a record player though. Wait, you're gonna just buy a record player for me to come in? And I'm like, yeah, we don't have one. We could use a record player in the studio. And he's like, you're just gonna go to the store and buy a record? Like, Keith, yes. We want you, of course. It's like $90. Yeah. There's 2 of us. We can split it. It's $45 a piece. We're good. And he came in and he's like, okay, then let's do it. And he was like so prepared. Is the best. I love Keith.
Yeah. Such a nice person.
You still doing Saber-Tooth Tiger, man? That's it. I would see him maybe once a year, like at like FF Fest or whatever. And he'd be like, hey, you still doing that Saber-Tooth Tiger, man? I'm like, how do you remember? You talk to 700 people a day.
You have so many more important people you should be talking to, and not me. I mean, I'm constantly, that imposter syndrome.
He's the best.
No, but he's really down to earth.
Yeah, I got to see that was one of my best music photo moments. Is when they were doing press for, I'm going to say the second record
for Off.
Off. They asked me to do press photos, and so I did some press photos of them, and then they were like, hey, can you come in and shoot some of a practice, just like rehearsal? It's like, yeah, totally. And I walked in, and I had this assistant, and she's like, is that the guy from the Circle Jerks? And I'm like, yeah. Just like keep it cool. And we walked in, and they were like, you know what, we just haven't even, we're going out on tour tomorrow, we haven't even played the whole record, so we're just going to play the whole record. That's awesome. So I got to watch them play the whole record live while I took photos of like whatever their brand new record was that they were going on tour. And I was just sitting there going, "Oh, this is the best job. This is the best $200 I ever got."
That was the big money. You're gonna get paid the big bucks.
Money,
Yeah.
big money.
That's amazing.
It was awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fun. I mean, yeah, it was inspiring too. I think for Keith too, because I mean, he'd been doing it for so long. I think to find a band like that, I think was good for him. It was the right place and right time. Because I remember seeing him years ago with his the other band, Midget Handjob.
Yes.
I think this is an inappropriate name.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
But
so that was like the '90s band, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, or was it? What was the other one? Like
early 2000s?
Butt Trumpet?
Maybe.
Or something? Was there another one? Or something?
Could have been.
There's a lot of this kind of like, it was almost in a Frank Zappa-esque kind of, noise, psychedelic kind of art funk thing.
Okay.
But yeah. But it's like, okay, no, I would think a band like Off makes more sense for what he was doing.
Yeah, because it was serious. It was like it's like a real band. Like they were like having real tours, and Dimitri is like the hustler of all hustlers.
I think that's how it worked. Yeah, I think he like I said again, kind of a benevolent dictator, and sort of kept it in a box, right? Like we were saying, you know what I mean? You kind of have this box and this genre, so it doesn't go too wild.
Yeah, and they got like Raymond Pettibone to do all the artwork, and like it was just very much in that, like, this is this kind of band, and this kind of band, like even getting Stephen McDonald, it just like having that whole, I don't know, it's a LA it was the perfect band to become like the next, I don't know, just to keep that.
I think there was such an interest in those
going.
In the original Black Flag, stuff, and I think because of all of the Greg Ginn drama and everything, that wasn't going to be that. Whatever Ginn was going to do was going to be something different, and then so it sort of filled a void of that sort of stuff, or it sort of worked as a new band that had a lot of pedigree to it. It sort of met the requirements of what the culture was looking for at that time.
Yeah, well, and the fact that Dimitri was just like, I mean, I don't know how the money worked, but like getting those movies, it's like, I feel like he found ways to get them out there, by like, well, we're going to do this movie, but the band is going to be in the movie, but we're also going to do the soundtrack for the movie. It's this,
there was
like
a vision.
Finding, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, this comes back to you guys talking about the Beatles, of like Hard Day's Night is like made to be a soundtrack to a movie that didn't exist, that became a movie that then existed with the soundtrack that was built for the, it's like, that's kind of how the entertainment business works. And I think that now it's maybe a little bit back to that, because the money is so slim that you're like, well, maybe we could get money for a movie, and then we could use that money to pay for the record, and then we don't have to pay someone to write music for the movie, because we're writing the music for our own movie. It's like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, you'll recall, some of the talks we had with our good friends at Dangerbird, where when it finally dawned on us, like, oh wait, let's just make a why don't you guys just finance the record, and then we'll use the money from the record to make this film.
Yeah. We'll use our own time.
We'll use this art project. Yeah. But we'll say that the money you're giving us is to promote a record. When the reality was this art film project installation thing we wanted to make. But we had to sort of put it in terms of like sort of traditional sort of like financing, for a record project. Because a record is a product to sell. And I remember we finally figured out, like, oh,
rights and everything.
Just give us money for a record. Okay.
Yeah.
And when that was never really the intention of what we were trying to make, but then it sort of ended up being like, okay, well, that's how the people will pay you money to make a record. They won't pay you money to make an art installation, because there isn't really like a thing they sell. There isn't like a financial infrastructure, an economic infrastructure in order to recoup their investment in an art piece exactly like that.
Yeah.
But if they say that they're going to make a record.
Yeah. Well, and you don't know what the rights are. It's like, well, who has the rights to the project?
We figured that out.
Who has the rights to
too?
Video, blah blah blah. And you're like, just call it a record. It's fine.
Yeah.
The video is not going to make any, like, you can't make money from the video. Although we did try to pitch it for some.
It was close.
We almost got a couple projects.
I was laughing.
That stuff.
I was laughing earlier in looking up Keith's Wikipedia, I made the mistake of clicking on the words midget hand job, and now my computer
Oh no.
is googling midget hand job. I'm like, no, that's not.
You're like, no. It's,
I don't
trust
need
me,
this.
it's a
I don't need
band.
this on my search history here. I'm going to go ahead and
Yeah.
clear that out.
Like, why is there no more money in my bank account?
What happened?
Oh no.
Oh no.
I typed in the
Keith.
wrong. I got all their money. Oh my God,
Just
that's so
instantly, yeah. Wikipedia took me down another rabbit hole I was not looking to go down.
Yeah, take that off my history.
Yes,
Siri.
I'm gonna have to clear my cache.
We cannot remove this from your history, Mr. Randall.
Oh Lord.
Welcome to the future. It's bright. Trust us.
All those out of print records are here. Don't worry, records won't be out of print. Oh, that's what I was gonna say too. When I worked at Amoeba, I remember that first This Heat record came in, like the blue and yellow one, and it's just like self-titled, I think. And I bought it on CD. It was like an out of print CD, and it was like I want to say like $30 for a CD, which just seems again like the economy of music. It's like, but I think I still have it, and it has a little sticker on the front of it that says out of print. But there was again like just a time and place for all of these things. You know what I mean? Like, it almost feels anachronistic that I have an out of print CD. But I love that record. Do you know this band, This Heat? Like
no,
a post-punk band. Again, they're
I'm just looking it up right now.
In the margins, but very seminal and very influential for kind of instrumental post-punk.
It's called This Heat?
Yeah.
All right. I'm looking for a good.
Now you have a new heater search. So you have your heating and AC, your HVAC technicians. Not this heat, that heat.
Yeah. Is your house cold? Have you been wondering?
You're gonna start getting ads for aluminum siding for your house. For your house. To keep this heat in the house.
Can you imagine how expensive this looks? This has got to be way too expensive. I could never afford to reheat my house. Well, This Heat has your solutions. You'll come and play really loud in your house and heat it up and then shut your doors.
Lord.
No, I'm always looking for new bands. I'm trying to make playlists for the classroom.
Oh.
And so I made a real chill.
How does that go?
It goes good. I just play a lot of. I always kind of have music playing if I'm not talking, but I have a lot of like Mac DeMarco and some Vampire Weekend and Alt J and Dr. Dog. Anything that doesn't have like
anything that's from 20 years ago.
Yeah, but then Alex G. Do you know Alex G?
No, this is new.
So this is someone who
as
our
of
kids
10 years ago.
Our kids were kind of listening to, and it's a little like. It sounds kind of old, K Record Z, sub poppy, kind of like lo-fi a little bit.
Yeah.
But then I looked him up, and he's been around for like 15 years or like a long time.
I remember our friend Sue Bush from Sub Pop went to go work at Domino and then worked somewhere else, and she was always talking about Alex G.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's good, but it's good.
That's
It's good like kid. Like I don't want to say kids music because it's not. It's like, but it's good for that. Like it's.
Works while they're painting. It's not
chill enough. But I have I have a couple No Age songs on there.
Oh damn.
Yeah. Every once in a while pops up.
We'll get a couple pennies for the royalties.
Yeah. A couple times a week when it comes up on the playlist. Nice. Got some Yola Tango, some Portishead, Blonde Redhead.
Yola Tango. What's Yola? Yeah. I love that
What
band.
song? I'll Be Around. What else? Wombo. Do you know the band Wombo?
No.
It's a new band.
Wombo.
Like
hey.
Yeah, they're one of my favorite new bands.
What about
it's like it's like girl singer and the guy singer, and
I could hear that.
It's just like it just it's like
just
driving but real chill
That's
driving.
Great. Chill drive.
But I've started to make I needed one. I'm like I need this room to be a little bit more upbeat. So I started to make like a in-class like electronic dance mix. So that's when I'm starting on now. So I got to figure out some good ones for that.
Like Aphex Twin?
A little bit. I have a couple Aphex Twin on there. But I have
more upbeat.
I have some of him from. Well, I have. Yeah, there's a couple. Like anything that's a little bit more driving, little Daft Punk
There you go. Yeah, I
stuff
was
like
gonna
that
say, yeah,
around the world.
my 11-year-old now is into Daft Punk. We have a lot of
Yeah.
Daft Punk songs on our playlist for the drive to school every day. It's good. There's worse things. I can appreciate
No,
that.
definitely. There's a lot of that. Like, I just want there's some like TV on the radio gets in there, little Joy Division. Sometimes like the
New
like
Order. You could fill a
New
whole
Order
thing with
would
New
be
Order.
actually
It'd be
really
great.
good.
That's easy.
New Order would be good.
That sort of
I
fits that bill.
I got to shoot photos of New Order play once at the Santa Barbara Bowl,
Oh wow.
and just watching them, I was like, oh yeah, this is a great band. I do not listen to enough New Order.
You'll never remember the name of the song,
No,
but you'll know
I
all
don't.
the songs.
Yeah.
But they're one of the bands that I think have like the most or they're very specific names, but the name doesn't necessarily refer to the hook of the chorus, the lyrical
Oh,
like content.
right.
So it's like The Age of Consent is like one of their biggest songs, and you're like, doesn't say that anywhere in there.
No.
Deceit or something, you know. I mean, you're just like, what is this? Like, you know, the Blue Monday might be the easiest to think,
Right.
you know. But again, he doesn't say Blue Monday. It's a Blue Monday, having a blues on the Monday. But
yeah,
there's that song. Then the other song, you know.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, I'm gonna put on. But everything that I think is cool, they'll be like, this is cool. Is this like
my grandpa listens to this?
100%. But then you find out people's grandpas are like 55.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, well,
that's me. Yep.
That means you and me and your grandpa are in the same music bracket. That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, was this song popular in the 1900s?
Yeah, I know. It's and that is it's a good question, I guess. At this point, we're 25 years in. The 1900s are a real thing now.
They were a long time ago.
Yeah. And
and you're teaching high school, you're teaching children, so it's okay for them to not know things or to have a present centered point of view. I feel like it's the kind, you know what I mean? They're very in the moment. They live now.
Well, and I'm in middle school, so it's even
it's
even crazier.
These are like 12-year-olds. So these kids were
they don't
even, the aughts were a thing of the past.
Yeah, well, they don't even really. You forget that they don't really do things without their parents or guardians or whatever. Like they don't have a alone. You know, they don't have their own ideas really that don't have to do with something about being with their family or whoever they're with. Like that's where all of their ideas. So then, like if they hate something, it's because their parents either hate it or because their parents like it and they're trying to rebel against whatever their parents are doing. But they don't have, like when it's one of the things even in art that I'm actually grappling with, that I'm realizing that they don't have, most of them don't have their own ideas. Like you can say like, just draw something. And like
a minion, like IP, like Among Us.
Like even a lot of them are like what? Like a tree. Okay, I can do, but like they don't have like just draw shapes. And they're like, so realizing like, oh right, a 12-year-old does not have references of almost anything other than like unless they're into drawing, then they have their own things. They draw their characters and all this, but just a normal kid, you really have to be super specific. Like again, back to our music, like being super specific. You have to give them like 3 choices and then they can make it, because they have to make a decision. They can't come up with the idea and then decide from there. Like is
this part of critical thinking? A bit
I think so. A lot of it too, their brains just aren't developed yet to do that in a general way, because they're not expected to out in the real world, because their parents or guardians usually make the majority of the decisions for them. So they're still in a place where they don't have to make decisions really. They make like little ones, like maybe what clothes, like what's your style? Oh, I'm going to be kind of emo. Okay. I'm going to wear baggy clothes. Okay. I'm going to wear Vans. Okay. Those are like, but you don't have like life. There's no life decisions. Like they don't walk to the corner by themselves yet, even a lot of times. Like maybe with some friends, but they're They don't have like alone time hanging out. I'm just gonna go do stuff by myself and make some decisions by myself. Like, so it is interesting. It's funny. It's funny, like I don't know how we got on this, but with
the same way we get on everything.
yeah, the art stuff is that they're like that having that, again, we can get back to that point of like having guardrails. Like their guardrails for ideas just have to be really skinny. So like, okay, I'm going to give you 2 paths. Choose one of those. That's your choice. Okay, I can choose that. You want to do shapes, or you want to draw shoes? Okay, cool. I can do that. But don't give me 5 choices, because I'll just sit there with like art paralysis and not be able to do anything. Yeah.
Interesting.
Pretty
That's
funny.
cool. You're on the front lines.
On the front lines.
You're
man.
influencing minds.
Yes.
You're expanding horizons.
I'm arguing with a lot of 12-year-olds. That's what I'm doing, for sure.
Isn't that what we're all doing, though? Really, if you think about it, in life.
Yes.
If it's not a literal 12-year-old, it's someone with the mind of a 12-year-old. Awesome, man.
Yes.
Well,
someone who's giving off 12-year-old vibes.
I'm getting a lot of 12-year-old vibes from you. Whether you're trying to groom me or not.
Yeah, mental 12-year-old vibes. I'm gonna walk away from this one.
Yeah. Man. All right. Well,
cool.
I think we did it. We solved all the world's problems once again in under an hour. Way to go.
Better.
Good job, us. We've done it.
We win.
Yeah, that's it. Yay!
Yay. See you next week.
All right. See you next week, man. I'll see you. Bye.
Later. Bye.